Okay, I wanted to make a quick video really quick. I'm on a bike ride right now. And I think if you've been listening to this for a little while, or at least you saw my last video around all noise and how everything is just the noise and it's the perception that we put upon the noise, I wanted to go a little bit deeper onto that because I've had these realizations lately where it's just like we have more control over certain aspects than we care to consider. Like, I was always under the impression that everything was outside of us, when I've started to realize that it's more within us, and it comes through a meditative state. It comes through grace giving it to us. It's a matter of us being able to recognize it and realize that, like, there is, yes, still an external world, don't get me wrong. It's mostly internal, if not all internal. And it's a very fascinating concept because when I first started meditating, this wasn't my original intention. I was just meditating because everybody told me, like, hey, meditation's a good thing to do. So that's what I did. And I just spent a lot of time out in the desert. I spent a lot of time out all by myself, hiking, doing challenging things, going on bike rides such as this. Well, not so much bike rides, it was more mountain bike rides. Mountain bike rides back then, where I'd just go out into the middle of the desert and I'd be with myself. I'd be talking to myself in a sense. Like, I was making these videos for Instagram and everything like that back then. And it helped me become closer to God, to myself, to an understanding of what I was capable of achieving. Because from what I've been able to see from people that I talk with, we all are in a certain predicament and we're all trying to fix everybody else. When there's a guy called Neville Goddard, which if you haven't heard of him, highly recommend checking out his books. He has a concept where it is known to change but self. And for the longest time, I was always trying to change other people. I was always trying to tell people, yeah, that you should do this, you should do that, you should do XYZ thing. And I came to realize it was just me trying to change myself, in a sense, because everybody that I was talking to was a version of myself. And that's why, like, we have this magnetic polarity where it is us going out and the people that come into our lives are reflecting us in some way, shape, or form. It might not be in the exact way that you originally thought it may be. Like, I was just working with a client, one of my coaching clients, and she was telling me about how she does this whole, like, manifestation thing, and she was wanting, like, a man to be able to, like, be her new husband after she got divorced. And it was interesting to see how she explained exactly the type of person that she was looking for, and it turned out that it was a friend of hers. And I had a similar situation myself as well when I was sitting out in the desert and I was visualizing within my own head, and I was like, okay, yeah, this is what I see. I see myself, like, getting everybody together to have a birthday party, and then, like, I just get everybody, they're up outside, and I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna go into, like, my own little individual room and sit by myself. And that's what I did because I wanted to test to see how true this theory was. And I don't say this because, like, it's more of, like, to tell you guys, like, give it a try it yourself, see if it's something that you yourself can also do, because everybody has this same power within themselves. It's a matter of being able to bring it outside and test it anyway. Don't take my word for it. I'd say just give it a try, test it, see if it works, see if it doesn't work. And if not, then, like, I mean, okay, you didn't lose anything. You're at the exact same place that you were. Or if it does work, it's like, wow, okay, maybe I've been looking at the world in a completely wrong way. Because when I visualized that scene of me getting everybody together and having a birthday party, and me being alone by myself, I didn't think anything of it at the time. I just let it be, and I just forgot about it pretty much. And then as time went on, I was working at this company, and one of the girls on the team was like, hey, we should get together and have everybody, like, come out to New Hampshire where the company that I was working for was. And it's like, yeah, that'd be a great idea. Didn't think anything of it. I was like, oh, it's just a normal, like, get together type of thing. And then as we go out there, I'm hanging out with everybody, I'm having a good time, everybody's loving me and everything like that. I'm like, okay, this is incredible. And then my boss, he ends up messaging me, and he's just like, hey, so you're asking some questions of people and you're making them feel uncomfortable. And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, okay, what do you mean? And I went back and I replayed every scenario, and I talked with every person that I talked with on the trip, and everybody was cool with me. Everybody, like, didn't have problems except for one person. And that's when I was like, okay, that's who it was. It's just without her, then I wouldn't have gone on to the boat cruise. Like, we went on to this little boat cruise, and if she wasn't there to begin with in the first place and give me, like, this, she was the one to gang up on me and, like, take her own side type of thing, then I would have had that conversation and be like, hey, do you mind if I just like sit by myself type of thing, like on this boat cruise, because I just don't want to be around everybody. He's like, yeah, I don't care, like you can do that, which was amazing because that was the first time in my life that I was able to do something that I myself want to do instead of being told what to do. And I was like, okay, this is pretty interesting. So I get on the boat and I'm like sitting down, like I just get my drink, like just a cup of water because I wasn't going to be drinking that night. And I go down onto like one of the lower levels, and I'm just sitting there like by myself looking at like my analytics for the anime channel that I do. And I was looking at that and I was like, okay, this is fascinating. And I'm just watching it, looking at it, like being like, okay, this is what I want to do. And one of the like co-captain girl she comes down, she takes off her little rope, like throws it into the water. I'm like, okay, that's pretty sweet, whatever, didn't think anything of it. And then as I come down, like I'm sitting there and the captain comes down and he's like, hey, you're a solitary man. And I was like, yeah. He's like, I like that. And he just starts talking with me and telling me all these things and these stories. And he's just like, hey, I'll come back down and check on you. I was like, okay, I appreciate that. And as him and I were talking, I was getting a little bit of emotional because like somebody did come down and check on me, like just to be like, hey, is this guy doing okay? And I was perfectly okay not having anybody come down and check on me. It was funny though how the first person that came down to see how it was and like just chat with me for a bit, it wasn't anybody that I worked with. That's when I was like, okay, yeah, this isn't where I'm supposed to be anymore. I was like, the captain of the crew, the captain of the ship, he was the one that came down and talked with me. And one of my buddies that I was talking to about this, he was like, well, it's kind of like it was signaling that it's time for you to be the captain. It's time for you to pave your own path. And I was like, wow, never really thought about it that way. And the bracelet that the captain had on when him and I were chatting, I ended up looking at him and he had a bracelet that said St. Michael protect us in battle. And I wouldn't say I'm a Christian by any means, but I do believe like there is God and he's within us and we are all God in a sense, and we can go into that in another video. But he came down and I saw that and I was like, wow, thank you. Because the girl that was sabotaging me, she was big into snakes and reptiles and like there's symbolism in that as well. So I was like, okay, this is fascinating to see. And like as we're leaving the trip, like I was talking with this other one of the other girls and she was telling me about like how much she was able to make in 1 month and it was like $30,000. I was like, okay, I want to jump over there because I was done with trying to get this promotion at this work. I was just like, it was putting too much pain and stressor on me. So it wasn't something that I wanted to do. And after going about it that way, I was like, okay, I talked with the manager the next day. Him and we chatted down for a little bit, had a conversation with him, whatever, besides the point. And then when we were coming back, we went to this bar, ended up chatting around the table with a couple of people. And I went down and sat next to like the VP of sales, around one of my old managers, and then around these other girls that I had also asked a question to them, like where she got this like ring, because like it was a very nice ring. And I was like, hey, what did your husband do, or whatever it may be, because I'm just always genuinely curious about what people do for a living, because I'm like, if they're making good money and they're having a good income, then like we're solid. I only have an hour until sun goes down, so I just got to make sure I got time to get back. So I sat down with them and I was having a good conversation. We were all together. And the girl that was sabotaging me, she came by and everybody was like, hey, I gotta go. I'm gonna go to the bathroom. I'm gonna go here, gonna go here. And everybody started leaving. I was like, okay. So I saw something there within that specific moment. I was like, okay, she was the one that caused this problem and I can't do anything about it. It's her own some scars, her own past traumas that she hadn't dealt with, and that's perfectly okay. And there's gonna be people in her life that will come through here to test us or either push us in the direction that we're meant to go. So as I was sitting there, and me and one of the other managers, my old manager, him and I ended up walking and going to get tacos, and we were talking about like dog training and all these other things, and he brought up this thing. He's just like, yeah, sometimes things just manifest in different ways. And I was like, dude, what? And hearing that, it completely changed my whole perspective on everything, because it's like I did think that, and then a couple months later it came true. So I know I started out this video saying like everything is within us, and it is, and sometimes when we see it in our head, it'll just play out in a different manner than what we originally thought it was within our head. That doesn't mean that it didn't happen in the ways that it needed to. It happened in the ways that it was supposed to. I hope that helps.